Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some news tonight out of Chicago, Illinois, where recently...
What did you do?
Nothing. It wasn't me. Recently, the historic Pictorium at Six Flags Great America has been completely torn down for future expansion. Now, Danny, this leads us to the question of what are they putting way up there in the front of the park? Danny, if you recall walking into Great America, this is one
I try not to.
This is one of the first big things that you see when you enter. Obviously, the carousel, the pool, Skytrek Tower, and then if you veer off to the right, the Pictorium takes up a huge amount of space, a huge big box.
Yep.
It used to be the Pictorium, and then Space Shuttle America used to be right there. It was a motion simulator ride based on the Space Shuttle that had a huge Space Shuttle facade out front, which was really cool as a kid to see. Almost, I want to say it was almost life-size, if I recall correctly. But now the Space Shuttle America's gone for expansion there, already put in stuff for the water park. Now the Pictorium is gone. So, Danny, it begs the question of what is Six Flags Great America going to do for the 2019 season? I have a few ideas here. I have 4 options for you.
World's largest Larson... wait.
That was this year. This year. So anyway, I think we have 4 options. And I'm going to give you in my ranking of most likely to least likely. And I'm going to throw out some stuff and see what people respond to. Number 1, I think it's very likely that we see one of the RMC single rails go into Great America. Now, I know both of us have been very adamant about the capacity on these things. They are going into smaller parks this year in Fiesta and California's Great America, which is a medium-sized park. Fiesta is a medium-sized park as well. They don't get the traffic that Great America gets.
Right.
So I don't know how that's going to play. Number 2,
Six Flags has also shown signs of not caring either. So
that there's that too. Number 2, I think it's possible that we see a water park expansion that we have not seen in quite some time at Great America.
Seems to be the safe answer.
And it's right there next to the water park. I know it's towards the front of the park, so I don't know. Maybe they do a new Hurricane Harbor entrance that's kind of buried off behind Viper. It's kind of hard to find if you're just entering the park for the first time. Most Hurricane Harbor entrances are like right there in the front. Like St. Louis is like right there when you enter.
Yeah.
So maybe a water coaster like Fiesta Texas did last year. We'll go through each of these in depth a little bit. Number 3 is a Pulsar clone, which I think is less likely, but it might be cool to bring back something called Tidal Wave. I don't know if the front of the park is where you do that unless you do a shared ride between Hurricane Harbor and the park. And I think the least likely answer that may have a 1% chance of actually happening would be something that you're going to be in favor of, and that is a GCI that wraps itself around Skytrek Tower.
Yes, that one.
A lot like Gold Striker out at Kaga.
Yeah, that one.
That one. That's the one you like.
That's the one I
So,
like.
Danny, what do you think of some of these ideas here?
I think the water park expansion is probably the safe answer. Yeah. And, I've been up to Great America twice, once in 2013 and then once again in 2015. So the year after X-Flight and the year after Goliath. With X-Flight in 2012, Goliath 2014, now Joker in 2017. Joker was last year, right?
Yeah, it was last year.
Okay, and then, the Larson Loop this year. You had Metropolis the year before.
Before Joker.
So, Great America's gotten quite a lot of big, in the last 7 years. That's 5 years where you're getting a substantial, either a roller coaster, substantial, flat or dark ride of some sort, for sure. So, there's what Great America's doing the Larson Loop this year. So, it's on the smaller side. So I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they do something a little larger. But when's the last time they did anything over in the water park, I guess, is the real question.
It's been some time. Not since I've been attending media days and stuff there. They really haven't done a whole lot.
In 2013 was Batman Backwards, so they did a roller coaster related thing there too. So the water park kind of seems like maybe it's due, huh?
I talked to the people because I wanted to get a sense of how people were responding to Thunder Rapids down at Fiesta Texas. And because I haven't heard a whole lot about it.
I haven't heard a whole lot about, how that panned out down there. I mean, it looks really cool from the videos, and that seemed to be one of the surprises of that season, that announcement season. But we haven't really heard a whole lot about that. I mean, we're not water park guys, but.
And I talked to my buddies at Texas Thrill Seekers because, I posted a little question there. And basically the response has been overwhelmingly supportive of the ride, that they said it usually has a pretty decent line on it. Not super long, not super short, that you got to wait a little bit. They said it's a really nice water coaster. It's a lot of fun. Because I was a little surprised last year when another Six Flags did not install one of those rides. We see Hershey getting something similar this year at their water park.
Yeah.
So I'm a little surprised that Six Flags didn't expand on that deal with Pro Slides and start putting them in other parks. Maybe that's what's happening this year at Great America. They're going to put one of those in.
I wonder if those things are rather expensive, and maybe they're not going to put them in the parks, the water parks that have shorter seasons. I mean, San Antonio, quite honestly, has one of the longest water park seasons of any parks in the chain. I think probably just the Mexico parks, and then maybe Six Flags Over Georgia is right around there, and Whitewater, which isn't far down the road. So I would expect maybe one of those places, or like Magic Mountain's Hurricane Harbor. I would think, or even over Texas's Hurricane Harbor. I would expect to see them put in a higher cost water attractions such as that at Great America, or not at Great America, but I would see them going.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Great America, I could see maybe doing do they have a bonsai pipelines?
They do. They have that already.
All right, so they did do that when those were going around.
They have most of the standard water slides, the Tornado, the bonsai pipeline.
They don't have one of the King Cobra things like what Great Adventure did, but they didn't do any more of those.
No. So maybe we go back to single rail, that you're talking about an area right there at the front of the park. You want to make that front of the park statement with a roller coaster that you have on the other side with kind of like with Superman. So you would balance it on this side with a single rail.
Would you go Wonder Woman, or would you be able to? And
I think so. I think Wonder Woman is probably the way to go with these things, right? And I don't know if you saw some of the pictures coming out of Fiesta, but the theming that they did at Fiesta looks fantastic.
It looks pretty good.
Not only for a Six Flags park, but for almost any regional park, with the water and the columns and the Wonder Woman statue out front. I think that would be an amazing front statement, especially with the big pool there. You would have this other water feature there, and that would kind of lead you to the water park as well, that you'd have that water with the roller coaster, and then it would transition right into the water park of Hurricane Harbor.
I could see that. I mean, I'm interested to see where this whole single rail thing goes. It wouldn't surprise me if there's been a lot of these bought up by Six Flags parks to parade around to the different parks, and if this is the next clone.
We know that Wonder Woman at Fiesta Texas just opened to pass holders and Diamond Elite members, and now to regular people, regular guests, this past few days.
Yeah.
So, and everyone's raving about it completely. Like, people are saying that it's really a fantastic ride. So,
good.
So
we thought it might be.
I think we're going to see these at a lot of places. And once again, I think Six Flags has proven with the Larson Loops, with the Joker Free Flies, that capacity is not so much of a concern, especially at a place like Great America, where you have enough rides to space out the population. And adding any ride is going to be better than to make everything less crowded across the park.
Yeah, Six Flags has been taking the approach in the last, 5 to 8 years of they don't need to put in large capacity rides. They just need to put in a lot of rides to try and spread the people out more. That seems, they'd rather do, the 3 or 4 of these jokers, and then, 3 or 4 Battle for Metropolis rides, then maybe a couple of smaller roller coasters here and there, a couple of RMCs to kind of space out the population, as opposed to putting in one big, B&M or Intamin coaster that might have a large capacity every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the better business plan too. I don't know. Maybe you get more spikes in attendance that way. I'm not sure.
The other 2 options I'm not too hot on. I think the Pulsar clone would be cool if you called it Tidal Wave, to give a hearkening back to the old Tidal Wave, the old Schwarzkopf shuttle loop that Great America used to have. Mm-hmm. It's obviously a completely different ride, but you could call it the same name and kind of have, a little bit of crossover there. And then, like you said, I think the GCI is unlikely, although putting in another wood coaster would give Great America the wood coaster crown for most wood coasters in a park right now. They would have 5 at that point, with Viper, American Eagle, Goliath, Little Dipper, and then a new one would be the 5th. So that would be interesting.
Right, and for the Kings Island fanboys who are saying, "Oh, but Racer, that's 2 coasters." Well, so is American Eagle.
Yeah,
so they got you there.
Either way you count it, it's still the same.
Yeah, I guess they would have that, wouldn't they? That's interesting.
I don't know if that's a crown you want, Danny. It's a crown you would like to enjoy, but
that's just odd, because that doesn't, with how much RMC or not RMC, Six Flags has been doing all the RMCs lately. It seems like that's just not something that a Six Flags park would have. But that's.
But they have 4. And
they just have a lot there.
they do. So an interesting happenstance over at Great America. We'll be very looking on the ground to see what happens this year. I'm sure they're going to start teasing stuff here as the summer months come upon us. Because they're not tearing that down for no reason. They're going to put something there. It'll be really interesting.
It's going to be a height check stand.
Well, it could be. Well,
red and orange flags.
So, as always, thank you for joining us here on COASTER-net Update. We will keep you updated on all the things going on at Six Flags Great America, and maybe we'll have a nice little answer for us sooner rather than later. As always, I am Andrew Barchak from Chicago, Illinois.
And Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
Right on, right, Warriors.
See you guys.